We now present Twelfth Night, written by William Shakespeare. Before the story begins, here is a brief listening guide. William Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, composed around 1601, stands as one of the peak achievements of his romantic comedies. Originally written for the festive conclusion of the Christmas season, this prose adaptation distills the play's intricate exploration of mistaken identity, unrequited desire, and social inversion. Listeners should pay close attention to the fluid boundaries of gender and the melodic quality of the dialogue, where melancholy and mirth interlace seamlessly, creating a bittersweet atmosphere that balances the absurdity of human folly with the profound yearning for genuine emotional connection. Now, let the story begin. Twelfth Night. Orsino, the Duke of Illyria, was deeply in love with a beautiful countess named Olivia. Yet all his love was in vain, for she disdained his suit. And when her brother died, she sent back a messenger from the Duke, bidding him tell his master that for 7 years she would not let the very air behold her face, but that, like a nun, she would walk veiled. And all this for the sake of a dead brother's love, which she would keep fresh and lasting in her sad remembrance. The Duke longed for someone to whom he could tell his sorrow and repeat over and over again the story of his love. And chance brought him such a companion. For about this time a goodly ship was wrecked on the Illyrian coast, and among those who reached land in safety were the captain and a fair young maid named Viola. But she was little grateful for being rescued from the perils of the sea, since she feared that her twin brother, Sebastian, was drowned, who was as dear to her as the heart in her bosom. And so like her, that, except for the difference in their manner of dress, one could hardly be told from the other. The captain, for her comfort, told her that he had seen her brother bind himself to a strong mast that lived upon the sea, and that thus there was hope that he might be saved. Viola now asked in whose country she was, and learning that the young Duke Orsino ruled there, and was as noble in his nature as in his name, she decided to disguise herself in male attire and seek employment with him as a page. In this she succeeded, and now from day to day she had to listen to the story of Orsino's love. At first she sympathized very truly with him, but soon her sympathy grew to love. At last it occurred to Orsino that his hopeless love suit might prosper better if he sent this pretty lad to woo Olivia for him. Viola unwillingly went on this errand, but when she came to the house, Malvolio, Olivia's steward, a vain, officious man, sick, as his mistress told him, of self-love, forbade the messenger admittance. Viola, however, who was now called Cesario, refused to take any denial and vowed to have speech with the countess. Olivia, hearing how her instructions were defied and curious to see this daring youth, said, "We'll once more hear Orsino's embassy." When Viola was admitted to her presence and the servants had been sent away, she listened patiently to the reproaches which this bold messenger from the Duke poured upon her. And, listening, she fell in love with the supposed Cesario. And when Cesario had gone, Olivia longed to send some love token after him. So, calling Malvolio, she bade him follow the boy. "He left this ring behind him," she said, taking one from her finger. Tell him I will none of it." Malvolio did as he was bid, and then Viola, who of course knew perfectly well that she had left no ring behind her, saw with a woman's quickness that Olivia loved her. Then she went back to the Duke, very sad at heart for her lover, and for Olivia, and for herself. It was but cold comfort she could give Orsino, who now sought to ease the pangs of despised love by listening to sweet music, while Cesario stood by his side. "Ah," said the Duke to his page that night, "you too have been in love." "A little," answered Viola. "What kind of woman is it?" he asked. "Of your complexion," she answered. "What years, I faith?" was his next question. To this came the pretty answer, "About your years, my lord." "Too old, by heaven!" cried the Duke. "Let still the woman take an elder than herself." And Viola very meekly said, "I think it well, my lord." By and by, Orsino begged Cesario once more to visit Olivia and to plead his love suit. But she, thinking to dissuade him, said, "If some lady loved you as you love Olivia?" "Ah, that cannot be," said the Duke. "But I know," Viola went on, "what love woman may have for a man. My father had a daughter loved a man, as it might be," she added, blushing. "Perhaps, were I a woman, I should love your lordship." "And what is her history?" he asked. "A blank, my lord," Viola answered. "She never told her love, but let concealment, like a worm in the bud, feed on her damask cheek. She pined in thought, and with a green and yellow melancholy she sat, like Patience on a monument, smiling at grief. Was not this love indeed?" "But died thy sister of her love, my boy?" the Duke asked. And Viola, who had all the time been telling her own love for him in this pretty fashion, said, "I am all the daughters my father has, and all the brothers. Sir, shall I go to the lady?" "To her in haste," said the Duke, at once forgetting all about the story, "and give her this jewel." So Viola went, and this time poor Olivia was unable to hide her love, and openly confessed it with such passionate truth that Viola left her hastily, saying, "Never more will I deplore my master's tears to you." But in vowing this, Viola did not know the tender pity she would feel for other suffering. So when Olivia, in the violence of her love, sent a messenger praying Cesario to visit her once more, Cesario had no heart to refuse the request. But the favors which Olivia bestowed upon this mere page aroused the jealousy of Sir Andrew Aguecheek, a foolish, rejected lover of hers, who at that time was staying at her house with her merry old uncle, Sir Toby. This same Sir Toby dearly loved a practical joke, and knowing Sir Andrew to be an arrant coward, he thought that if he could bring off a duel between him and Cesario, there would be rare sport indeed. So he induced Sir Andrew to send a challenge, which he himself took to Cesario. The poor page, in great terror, said, "I will return again to the house. I am no fighter." "Back you shall not to the house," said Sir Toby, "unless you fight me first." And as he looked a very fierce old gentleman, Viola thought it best to await Sir Andrew's coming. And when he at last made his appearance, in a great fright if the truth had been known, she tremblingly drew her sword, and Sir Andrew in like fear followed her example. Happily for them both, at this moment some officers of the court came on the scene and stopped the intended duel. Viola gladly made off with what speed she might, while Sir Toby called after her, "A very paltry boy, and more a coward than a hare." Now, while these things were happening, Sebastian had escaped all the dangers of the deep and had landed safely in Illyria, where he determined to make his way to the Duke's court. On his way thither, he passed Olivia's house, just as Viola had left it in such a hurry, and whom should he meet but Sir Andrew and Sir Toby? Sir Andrew, mistaking Sebastian for the cowardly Cesario, took his courage in both hands, and walking up to him, struck him, saying, "There's for you." "Why, there's for you, and there, said Sebastian, hitting back a great deal harder, and again, till Sir Toby came to the rescue of his friend. Sebastian, however, tore himself free from Sir Toby's clutches, and, drawing his sword, would have fought them both, but that Olivia herself, having heard of the quarrel, came running in, and with many reproaches sent Sir Toby and his friend away. Then, turning to Sebastian, whom she too thought to be Cesario, she besought him with many a pretty speech to come into the house with her. Sebastian, half dazed and all delighted with her beauty and grace, readily consented, and that very day, so great was Olivia's haste, they were married before she had discovered that he was not Cesario. Or Sebastian was quite certain whether or not he was in a dream. Meanwhile, Orsino, hearing how ill Cesario sped with Olivia, visited her himself, taking Cesario with him. Olivia met them both before her door, and seeing, as she thought, her husband there, reproached him for leaving her, while to the Duke she said that his suit was as fat and wholesome to her as howling after music. "Still so cruel?" said Orsino. "Still so constant," she answered. Then Orsino's anger growing to cruelty, he vowed that, to be revenged on her, he would kill Cesario, whom he knew she loved. "Come, boy," he said to the page. And Viola, following him as he moved away, said, "I, to do you rest, 1,000 deaths would die." A great fear took hold of Olivia, and she cried aloud, "Cesario, husband, stay!" "Her husband?" asked the Duke angrily. "No, my lord, not I," said Viola. "Call forth the Holy Father," cried Olivia. And the priest who had married Sebastian and Olivia, coming in, declared Cesario to be the bridegroom. "O thou dissembling cub!" the Duke exclaimed. "Farewell, and take her, but go where thou and I henceforth may never meet." At this moment Sir Andrew came up with a bleeding crown, complaining that Cesario had broken his head, and Sir Toby's as well. "I never hurt you," said Viola, very positively. "You drew your sword on me, but I bespoke you fair, and hurt you not." Yet, for all her protesting, no one there believed her, but all their thoughts were of a sudden changed to wonder when Sebastian came in. "I am sorry, madam," he said to his wife. "I have hurt your kinsman. Pardon me, sweet, even for the vows we made each other so late ago." "One face, one voice, one habit, and 2 persons," cried the Duke, looking first at Viola and then at Sebastian. "An apple cleft in two," said one who knew Sebastian, "is not more twin than these two creatures. Which is Sebastian?" "I never had a brother," said Sebastian. "I had a sister, whom the blind waves and surges have devoured." "Were you a woman," he said to Viola, "I should let my tears fall upon your cheek, and say, 'Thrice welcome, drowned Viola.'" Then Viola, rejoicing to see her dear brother alive, confessed that she was indeed his sister. Viola. As she spoke, Orsino felt the pity that is akin to love. "Boy," he said, "thou hast said to me 1,000 times thou never shouldst love woman like to me. "And all those sayings will I overswear," Viola replied, "and all those swearings keep true." "Give me thy hand," Orsino cried in gladness. "Thou shalt be my wife, and my fancy's queen." Thus was the gentle Viola made happy, while Olivia found in Sebastian a constant lover and a good husband, and he in her a true and loving wife. The reading is followed by a deeper literary commentary. Shakespeare's Twelfth Night operates as a profound exploration of early modern culture, seamlessly blending festive comedic traditions with traditional social customs to examine dramatic form. The play explicitly disrupts conventional sexual differences, as the comedy constantly alters fixed structural meanings surrounding gender and identity. This fluid presentation of desire is further heightened by the complex motifs of twins and the travesty of cross-dressing. Exposing the deep dependencies of gender and the precarious nature of sexual availability on the Renaissance stage. Such thematic dynamics introduce distinct queer styles of expression, where poetic phrases like "two lips in different red" highlight the inherent ambiguity of attraction and desire. Concurrently, the drama interrogates entrenched social hierarchies through the sharp, subversive wit of festive figures like Feste, whose fine insights mirror the underlying tensions of Illyria. Ultimately, these psychological and social instabilities are mapped onto the physical dramatic setting, where spatial politics transform ordinary confined domestic rooms into reflections of a broader world, mapping out power, boundaries, social status, and transgressive desires. The narrative arc of this adaptation beautifully encapsulates the central tensions of Shakespeare's classic comedy. Establishing Illyria as a space of emotional extremes and psychological transformation. From the opening scene, the audience is introduced to an environment saturated with unrequited desire and performative mourning. Duke Orsino's infatuation with Countess Olivia is framed not as a genuine connection to another human being, but rather as an exercise in self-absorbed romanticism. He wallows in his sorrow, requiring an audience to witness and validate his grief. Conversely, Olivia's vow to withdraw from society for 7 years to mourn her dead brother represents an equally theatrical display of emotion. Both characters are trapped within their chosen emotional postures, isolated within their grand estates and unable to engage with reality. This stagnant status quo is radically disrupted by the arrival of Viola, whose literal shipwreck serves as a catalyst for psychological renewal across the entire Illyrian landscape. Viola's grief for her supposedly drowned twin brother, Sebastian, is spark, silent, and active, contrasting sharply with the loud, static affectations of the nobility. Viola's decision to assume the male disguise of Cesario introduces the central theme of identity fluidity and the performative nature of gender. By stepping into male attire, Viola navigates a patriarchal world with newfound agency, yet she simultaneously binds herself to a complex web of deception. As Cesario, she becomes the perfect vessel for Orsino's confidences, creating an ironic dynamic wherein the Duke falls in love with the spirit and intellect of a woman whom he believes to be a young lad. The text highlights this sublimated attraction during their intimate conversations about the nature of love, where Viola speaks of her own hidden passion under the guise of a fictional sister. Her description of a woman who never told her love, but let concealment feed on her damask cheek, stands as one of the most poignant moments of the narrative, exposing the genuine pain beneath the comedic complications. Through this double voice, Viola critiques Orsino's superficial understanding of romance, while articulating a deeper, more enduring form of devotion that requires no outward spectacle. The comedic complications deepen when Cesario is dispatched to woo Olivia on Orsino's behalf, leading to an immediate inversion of Olivia's carefully constructed mourning ritual. Upon encountering the bold, articulate messenger, Olivia is instantly shaken out of her performative isolation, discarding her 7-year vow in an instant to pursue the enigmatic youth. This sudden shift underscores the arbitrary nature of her grief and highlights the theme of romantic blindness that infects the play's characters. Olivia falls in love with a shadow, an illusion created by Viola's disguise, mirroring Orsino's love for an idealized version of Olivia. The narrative constructs a brilliant comic triangle, where Orsino loves Olivia, Olivia loves Cesario, and Cesario secretly loves Orsino. This configuration creates a profound sense of dramatic irony as the audience watches three characters pursue desires that are fundamentally incompatible due to a single layer of fabric. The insertion of Malvolio into this dynamic adds an additional layer of thematic commentary. His stern, puritanical self-love and officious nature make him an easy target for manipulation, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangers of vanity and social ambition. The subplots involving Sir Toby Belch and Sir Andrew Agecheek provide a festive, chaotic counterweight to the refined, courtly love of the main characters. Sir Toby represents the unbridled spirit of misrule, turning Olivia's household into a tavern of endless revelry, while Sir Andrew acts as his foolish, cowardly foil. The engineered duel between Sir Andrew and Cesario brings the absurdity of aristocratic honor to the forefront. Both combatants are terrified, forced into a conflict neither desires by the manipulative machinations of Sir Toby. This comic set piece exposes the artificiality of societal codes, demonstrating that masculinity and bravery can be performed just as easily as grief and romance. The sudden intervention of the officers and the arrival of Sebastian shift the narrative toward its inevitable resolution. As the physical presence of Viola's identical twin brother begins to untangle the knots of identity that have paralyzed the characters. Sebastian's entrance acts as a structural mirror that restores order to the chaotic romance of Illyria. When he defends himself against Sir Andrew and Sir Toby with genuine physical prowess, he shatters the illusion of the fragile Cesario, presenting a masculine reality that fulfills Olivia's desires without her knowledge. Their hasty marriage represents the ultimate culmination of comic confusion, where Olivia marries the physical form she craved, unaware that she has wedded the brother rather than the page. When Orsino and Viola arrive at Olivia's estate, the climax unfolds through a dazzling series of confrontations that threaten violence before achieving harmony. Orsino's sudden willingness to kill Cesario out of jealousy reveals the dark, volatile undercurrents of his passion, showing how easily obsessive love can curdle into destructive cruelty. The final revelation, where Sebastian and Viola stand side by side as an apple cleft in two, provides a profound moment of recognition and wonder for the court. The split identity is healed, allowing Olivia to remain happily wedded to Sebastian, and enabling Orsino to recognize the true value of Viola, who steps out of her disguise to become his fancy's queen. Despite the happy resolutions, a lingering sense of melancholy remains, reminding the reader of the fragile, deceptive nature of human affection. Let us now examine the work through its primary analytical perspective. A second perspective reveals further dimensions of the work. Finally, here are several companion works worth reading.